My knowledge of eggs is tremendously wide. I've eaten them and died.
Scream and run.
I think we found another. Get ready.
Hi, it's me, Gatsby from Gatskin and Webcomics. A lot of artists either dream of making a webcomic, or they're in the process of making a webcomic, or maybe they've made one and it's since been completed. I should know, I have done all three at some point. This video is not about how to make a webcomic. Honestly, you would be way better off by not doing what I do when it comes to making a comic, but we will get into that later in this video. What this video is about is just a look back, a retrospective commentary about my own webcomic, Liminal Lost and Found, now that its first chapter has been completed for almost a whole month now. And if everything works out, its second chapter will begin next month. So, for those of you who are new to this channel, what is Liminal Lost and Found, aka Laugh, about? In a strange Elseworld outside of time and space, a masked fox, a man with a strange arm, and a talking unicorn cross paths. From there, certain events happen that cause the three of them to begin an adventure in the strange place, where they will make both friends and enemies as the first two characters try to find a way back home. If I had to describe the vibes of Liminal Lost and Found, it's just Undertale / Deltarune with a backrooms paint job. There's a lot of other inspirations, of course, mainly things I was obsessed with at some point as a preteen / teenager. My Little Pony, Red Bull, 2011 Thundercats, Steven Universe. There's other stuff to it as well. Internet mysteries, other stuff that I've been inspired by over my time being alive. I've actually made quite a few other videos about this project. Most of them, if not all of them, are outdated in some way or another. But if you want a fun look into how the story has evolved over the years, I say, hey, check them out. Or, better yet, go read the webcomic. Links in the description, either on Comic Fury or the official Laugh Tumblr. Go read it if you want. Probably wouldn't even take you 5 minutes. So why did I make a webcomic? Because I really wanted to. Like a lot of 2000s kids, I read Bone by Jeff Smith and just became absolutely enamored with the world of comics and graphic novels, which was then further fueled by getting to read a whole bunch of Nuzlocke comics on the internet. A shout out to Kynim's Pokemon webcomics. I was obsessed with those as a kid. This is a very simple explanation. I really don't have the time or memory to give a full documentary on my own personal history with webcomics. Though before I really started drawing Laugh, I did make a 30-ish page one-shot to see if I could make a longer comic. It's called Lou plus Eve versus Swamp Deer, a very simple Sam and Max ripoff. But even though it didn't really get any attention online, I actually printed it out, stapled together some copies, and showed them to my family and some coworkers for a job I had at the time. And everyone seemed to like it okay. If you want to read it yourself, it should be on my art Tumblr or on my Instagram if you scroll down far enough. But yeah, that positive feedback really helped me get the motivation, that little push I needed to seriously start on Liminal Lost and Found. The hardest part for me when it came to the idea of making a webcomic, and the thing that really held me back for many years, was the fear that nobody would care, and also the feeling of not being ready enough to make one. But those feelings were pretty much hand in hand for me. Nobody will care about a comic I make because I'm not good enough, if that logic makes sense. And over time, I really just had to learn to kill that train of thought and be realistic. Like, yes, I'm going to suck at making a comic because I haven't made a lot of comics, and nobody, hyperbole there, is going to care about it, and that's okay. More than okay. The less people looking at your work, the less people to see any mistakes you make. You have a lot more freedom. I feel like the less eyes there are on you. I think anyways. Honestly, despite me wanting people to read Laugh and think about it in some way, discuss it with other people, I do fear quote-unquote fandom culture, Sharpie, bathtubs, food poisoning from fan cafes and all. But again, that's the wonderful thing about being a, for lack of a better term, unpopular artist, is that not a lot of people look at what you're doing. So I don't have to worry about quote-unquote a fandom, because I'm not going to get that. I can just make the comic because I want to make the comic, because there is an ending I want to get to with Laugh. It's an ending that I think about all the time. And the journey to get to that point, the process, the in-between from the beginning to this ending, is a journey that, even though I'm very early on in it, so far has been very fulfilling, even though sometimes it really does feel like I'm pulling my teeth getting it done. And on the topic of not being super far in Laugh's creation, just being able to see what progress I have made thus far has been really rewarding. I'm really excited to see how my art, how my storytelling capabilities, how those will evolve as the years go on. There are already a few things that I've done in Chapter 1 that I'm just mentally kicking myself on, thinking, why did I do it like that? What was I thinking? Things that I will not be doing in Chapter 2. Consider these the Laugh Chapter 2 patch notes. The Masked Fox. His mask, I have been drawing it wrong on his face. It needs to cover his upper snout completely. Why did I give it that gap there? That's gross. Ew. No. Another thing, from now on, the speech bubbles will have the more traditional look to them, full tails and not just black lines. A lot of comics do that stylistic choice of just having the speech bubble tails just be black lines. Those look fantastic. I have come to realize that for Liminal Lost and Found, I do not like the look of it. It was a very spur of the moment for me to make the speech bubbles like that, and I really regret it. I regret it immensely. There's a lot of other stuff that probably needs to be fixed, but those are the first things that come to mind. Some things, though, are very intentional. I won't elaborate. I feel like it's very obvious, I think. That is all I will say on that matter for now. One thing I am hesitant on, but I'm also very interested to see how it will play out, is that with Laugh Chapter 1, I drew the entirety of the whole comic before I started to upload it, which gave me enough time to start working on Chapter 2 and get the rough pencils, all of that done for Chapter 2. But as of right now, I only have about 3 weeks worth of pages fully completed, lined, colored, lettered thus far, and I really want to try and get at least 6 weeks worth of pages done before I start uploading Laugh Chapter 2 in September, and just going from an uploading schedule of being only a few weeks ahead instead of in the past having a whole chapter worth of a buffer is a little scary. I hope I can get the gumption going to really keep up that momentum. Anyways, I think we should explode Instagram due to all the hours I lose to doom scrolling on that accursed website. Okay, remember at the beginning of this video when I said it's probably better not to do things the way I do when it comes to comic making? So let me explain why you shouldn't follow my process, and also explain the logic behind my madness. So the common practice with comics in general, from my understanding at least, is you write a script, you thumbnail pages, you do a rough pencil, you ink it, you do the letters and the colors, boom, bam, pow. The thing is, I do the scripting, the thumbnailing, the rough pencils, pretty much all at the same time. I have bullet points of ideas that I know I need to get across, scenes in mind that I know are going to happen or I want to happen in the chapter. And from there, I just draw a whole bunch of rough pages or thumbnails over and over again, figuring out how I want the story to go. This is all done traditionally, so I can get a feel of how everything connects in a physical way, even if that means, I do multiple like rough starts, multiple drafts of just stacks of paper that's like, nope, that's not how things are going to go. This is how things are going to go. Once I finally get everything done of like, yes, this is how this chapter is going to go, I scan everything, upload it to my computer, and then I do everything else digitally, which definitely is not an efficient way to get things done. I think you probably really should stick with the traditional method if you want to do webcomics. Don't do what I do. But the reason why I do the things the way I do, it's because I know it's how I can actually get the webcomic made. Honestly, compared to other creative processes from other artists, the way I do things, I don't even think it's that bizarre. I think it's pretty well known that, Hayao Miyazaki, the Ghibli man, that he doesn't write traditional screenplays for his movies. He instead, quote unquote, works entirely in images, which someone else turns into words. On the comic side of things, okay, this is a side tangent here, but I promise it all ties in together. So Goosebumps, right? Goosebumps? They have had a bunch of comic adaptations over the years, but I want to draw attention to this one right here. 3 ghoulish graphic tales. Scary Summer. It's part of an anthology series where they get various comic artists to adapt various Goosebump tales. And at the end of the book, they show these little behind-the-scenes snippets of how each comic was made. The first 2 are very standard. I'm flipping through the pages right now as I'm telling you all this. But yeah, just very traditional. Did a script, did thumbnail layouts, did rough drawings, inked it, yada yada. But the last behind the scenes snippet going into the making of The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam by Kyle Baker. You see it right there, folks. Kyle doesn't do sketches. He boldly jumps in and draws the art all at once. So when I first read this book as a kid, it was a version I got at a library, and I have thus bought my own copy, as you can see in this footage. But yeah, when I first saw that as a kid, that was mind-blowing that he just went in and did that. And this is a guy who's an industry professional in both like comic and animation. Sure, the argument can be made that because this is an adaptation of a children's horror novel, a script wasn't needed. I wouldn't be surprised, and I absolutely believe for his like actual main work, it is a much more streamlined traditional production. And since what I'm doing is a long form project, I probably need to lock in and write scripts. But I'm the only person working on this comic currently. I think for now, I can get away with my bullshit. Consequences be damned. The final thing I want to talk about, which I know is very relatable to anyone with a creative project, is the undying urge to talk about your characters and your story, but knowing you can't, or really you shouldn't, because you don't want to spoil your audience. I swear there was this really good tweet Ian Jones-Cordy made, creator of OKKO, has done a lot of other stuff, in animation as well, where he had this tweet talking about how, like, you should go ahead and just talk about the story of, like, your personal creative projects. Spoilers be damned. Because eventually, when you do make the thing, someone will come across it who has never heard of you talk about it before, and if someone knows everything behind your story, even if they know what's going to happen, it would still be engaging for them because they get to see like the actual story play out and how you tell it. And I really love this train of thought. I love it a lot, but at the same time, I don't want to spoil laugh by talking about it on the internet. Thank God I have friends I can trust with my laugh brain rot, because the things I have told them that I have planned out for Liminal Lost and Found, well, let's just say I'm thankful they don't think I'm crazy. Anyways, Scrumble Lingus will accidentally shoot his cock off in Chapter 8, and this action will greatly traumatize the other characters, and will also lead to the downfall of the Interliminal Trading Empire. Copyright Gatskin 2026. An example of me like spoiling versus not spoiling my stuff is that in my previous laugh video I did, I think late last year, I re-watched it semi-recently, and I was shocked that I just stated the whole plot of chapter 1, like right there in the video, because I did not remember doing that. And now I'm just thinking like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? In fact, real laugh heads might notice that so far in this video, I haven't referred to the 3 characters in the comic so far by their names, even though they have names, and it's very easy to figure out what their names are. But in the comic, their names haven't been revealed yet, so I feel weird saying their names now, and now I'm in this really weird situation with that. I hope one day I can figure out a way to balance mystery while still promoting my comic. It's something I really struggle to do. I really hope I can work on that in the future. That's pretty much all I want to talk about for now. I want to thank you all for the support you've given Laugh thus far. I have received many funny and kind comments from readers of the webcomic. Those really mean a lot to me. Thank you really so much. And even if you're not the type to comment, just your silent support, just taking the time to read something I made, that means really the world to me. Thank you. I hope I can bring you more laughs in the near future. Thank you for watching this very ad-libbed quick little video. I will see you in the next one. This is Gatsby from Gatskin, signing out.